Joining us now, in any case, is Head of Crime and Justice at Policy Exchange, David Spencer. David, I mean, a mess of just cock-ups from start to finish as far as the authorities are concerned. Meanwhile, we don't know where this person is. He is dangerous. The judge described him as disgusting and sickening behaviour. Sexually assaulted a 14-year-old girl while she was in her school uniform and has had no remorse about doing so. What do you make of where we are tonight?
Good evening. Well, this is about as shocking an example of failure as it's possible to see in the prison service. Policy Exchange said only earlier this year that the prison service was in crisis. And this is just yet another example of the crisis that the prison service is in. I think as well, one of the things I saw earlier on was that a junior prison officer had been relieved from their duties as a result of what's happened here. Actually, my biggest concern here is that this is not just an error by a relatively junior member of staff. This is a systemic problem within the prison service, which is representative of the crisis they're in. And let me just give you a number here, that this last year there were 262 prison releases in error by the prison service. So that's 262 criminals who should be not released, who the prison service did release last financial year. And believe it or not, that's a number which doubled from the previous year. So what we're seeing here is just not just the mistake of one person, one relatively junior prison officer. This goes right to the very top of the prison service, this level of failure, because in the last year, the number of prison releases in error has doubled, has gone up twofold. And that means that this is part of a massive crisis in the prison service, and it goes right to the very top. So what I suspect we will see is an urgent question in the House of Commons on Monday. And what I would very much hope to hear from the Secretary of State is a couple of things. First of all, how on earth did this happen? And second of all, who is it, frankly, that's going to take the fall for it? And that better not be just some junior prison officer at the bottom of the heap. This needs to be someone at the very top of the prison service who takes responsibility of this. And my other concern is that what we'll hear from the Secretary of State on Monday or over the weekend is a promise for a review. And frankly, a review is not good enough, because if I remember rightly, we're still waiting for the publication of the review into the escape of the prisoner Daniel Khalifa from Wandsworth Prison. And you'll remember since he was released, he was convicted of espionage and terrorism offences. Now, we're still waiting to see for the independent review that was conducted into his release. So I'm afraid I've got no confidence that if the prison service is allowed to get away with the announcement of a review, that we'll see it any time soon. So what we need to see, if there is an urgent question in the House of Commons on Monday, is what happened and who's going to be held accountable for this.
Yeah, as you say, so far we have a junior prison officer who has been potentially thrown under the bus. We have had Home Secretaries resigning over such issues before in the past. In my world, I'm a former newspaper editor. The buck stopped with me. The buck stops at the top. The top of this one is the Justice Secretary, David Lammy. Do you think he has questions to answer on this one? And should he indeed maybe consider resigning himself?
Well, there are undoubtedly questions to answer, and not just by ministers here, but by very senior officials. And, this is an operational agency. Some people call this an operational law enforcement agency, and I think that's about right. So this is not just about ministers. This is about very senior officials at the very top of the prison service who need to be held to account here. Certainly, I'm willing and very happy to listen to the explanation that will be given, no doubt in Parliament on Monday about this, but there are certainly questions to answer.
OK, thank you very much, David. That is Head of Crime and Justice at Policy Exchange, David Spencer. Okay.